Okay, so in the last segment we talked about unit circles and how they relate to the 9 square, how you can actually translate a unit circle to change driving style within unit circle theory. And so now I think we're starting to close in on sort of a full loop, where now what I want to do is talk about body movement and mode and timing and direction, and how by translation through body movement or otherwise you can change timing, you can change direction, you can change driving style. Everything can be controlled simply by where you are in the 9 square grid and what happens if you, for example, move into an adjacent grid. Actually, during my break, I just figured this one out, where I'm in same time, opposite direction, and I'm in split time, opposite direction. So this is basically what I'm getting at. So things like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of an end on unit circle theory and how pendulums, you can do sort of a unit circle pendulum, and I've been having a lot of fun with these lately, doing patterns where as we talked about previously, when you take a unit circle and you move it tangentially to another square, it's like a tangential translation, that figure 8 pattern kind of causes you to change direction. And so pendulums for me have become sort of or I should say a unit circle pendulum has become for me sort of a way of changing direction. So, and timing. If I'm doing this kind of thing, I can very easily translate into the square above it, go into opposite direction and split time, and then I can go back down into same direction polyrhythm, like this, 2-to-1 polyrhythm, like that. And you can do it with both kind of into this neat pattern. This is what I refer to as a totipotential pattern, because it goes through all the different possible combinations of timing and direction in a like 4-step pattern. So you can see that just by translation of this unit circle pendulum, I can kind of change timing and direction. I'm not very good at it yet all the way through, but that sort of thing. So now I want to extend the theory even further and start talking about body movement. I started thinking the other day about the 9 square grid and what happened if you put it on the floor and started using it as a guideline for footwork. And what I found was very interesting, because ultimately what happens if you turn your body and move it over like this, this is now my solar plexus center square, and if you imagine these being my corner and side squares, I now have a 9 square grid that's centered around this point. If I turn back to the center and translate over here, now I have a new 9 square grid here. And the interesting thing about this is you can think of it as a way of changing mode. So whereas you might be doing moves in cross mode, this kind of stuff, and you're having all fun with that and whatnot, you could decide suddenly that I want to go into quarter mode now and do some of my quarter mode moves. So you could stop here, and just by rotating, now I'm in basically this kind of deal, like that. And if I want to get out of it, I can just go like this again. So you can step into and out of modes, that kind of deal. Ugh, that was messy. That. So, there's a lot to think about on that note. That's about as far as I've gotten with it so far. I've been working on developing techniques for turning, little tricks and things like that, but it's still kind of difficult for me. That kind of thing here, and I can sort of go like So I'm working on it. It's not fully cleaned up yet, but it's getting there. That kind of thing. So hopefully that makes sense. So it's getting really interesting for me now because you have sort of a, you know, an even, odd kind of odd, even, odd kind of mentality that's going on, where you can start selectively moving your body through your dance and still respect the modes. You can also completely ignore them. So I'm planning on not making it, you know, a complete gospel for my spinning technique. But it is nice to know that you can, you know, turn into a different mode. So next, so the footwork thing, I kind of want to revisit an old concept of stutter stepping and not stutter stepping, and point out the fact that if you are going to do this type of mode translation, then you need to think, you need to rethink your stutter stepping, because I've started to develop this technique of stepping, doing like a box step within one square that you're working in, and that way you don't change your mode. So like if I'm doing a cross mode kind of thing here, and I want to stay in cross mode when I turn, then I can turn just sort of like with a little 1, 2, 1, 2, that kind of thing. Or I can do sort of like a U pivot like that. So so kind of like and go like that. So I don't change mode. I stay right in my square. And that allows me to sort of keep my space modal versus doing something like this. So that is about as far as I've gotten with that. I don't know how much time I have left, probably about 4 minutes or something like that. But what I want to do is just maybe do a quick sort of extra discussion on translation and how to change modes I can also translate. So right now I'm in cross mode. I know I'm in cross mode because I'm using anti-spin in the even parity squares, the even squares. If I want to go into quarter mode, I can do it through translation, like so. Now I'm in quarter mode. So instead of moving my whole body, I can just move my arms and reconfigure my mode, like so. Like that. And so I've been working on that a lot as well, where like I'll be split time doing this kind of thing, and to translate into quarter mode from this cross mode move, I can sort of go like this, and now I've reconfigured for quarter mode. And then I can translate back out, and I'm in cross mode again. And again, these are all just different techniques that you might want to consider doing, like a turn with, like so. So I'd be doing this kind of stuff, and quarter mode, cross mode stuff, and then you get here, and then you could sort of turn it here, and then turn back, and now I'm in quarter mode. Just interesting things like that. So hopefully that'll prompt some interesting discussion. All right, probably one more video after this. We'll talk about probably some just random snippets of stuff. So see you then.